Hey, what's up, Canada and beyond? Welcome back. It is, yes, Friday the 13th, and buckle up and buttercup and grab a stiff one this week. It's going to be a roller coaster ride. And of course, as usual, we have our resident financial whisperer, Mr. Bryce Wade, joining us. And wow, Bryce, I even myself, I'm kind of sliding in here. I gotta say it, TGIF. This week has been an absolute roller coaster ride. I've literally barely even stopped for a couple of cups of coffee today since like the crack of dawn today, and the world is a dumpster fire on steroids right now. And the more I look around, hoping that somebody's going to tell me our country hasn't just been captured without firing a shot. And I can't find anybody to disagree with me. And so all week, this has been brewing here, Bryce, on what the F is going on, and I don't even really truly know where to start from there. So I'll give you a second to digest on that one while I remind everybody to make sure you smash that like and subscribe button. If you aren't following us yet, you should be, and make sure that you give it a share and get this message out there. We're finding that. It's up to us together collectively to have these conversations and trigger them. And that is, according to Grok, one of the primary, you know, recommendations and references that What's Up Canada does is it creates thought-provoking conversations and talks about things other people don't want to do. And that's kind of why we have you here, Bryce, with Bankers, Bandits, Bullion, and Bucks. If there is ever a show that I threw a catchphrase out that was more appropriate, somebody's got to show it to me. So,
yeah, 100%, man. It's been quite the week. So, since we're talking about bullion on a regular basis here, let's start with that because we have a new record, as we're probably going to have almost weekly at this point. So I'll just share my screen real quick here so you guys can see. So I use MarketWatch to kind of do a general sense of what the market is doing. So 2,600 buckaroos. That's Canadian pesos for all the Americans out there, right? Sorry, this is American dollars. This isn't Canadian pesos. So Canadian pesos like 3,500 bucks for an ounce of gold now. And why this is important is we've seen a steady but significant increase in the price of gold. And what this is a barometer of what's happening in the economy. When gold goes down, generally you're investing in other stuff. Stuff is really going well because nobody's worried about protecting your wealth. And for gold to be at this level, you have to understand that there has been trillions of dollars that have moved into precious metals in the last years, right? In the last few years. So we're seeing a absolutely massive amounts of money move into gold for it to move this much. And it moved 1% yesterday and it moved 1% today. So now we're up over 2,600, and you'll notice here that it went kind of up significantly on Thursday. So what happened on Thursday? Putin yesterday said that because of the U.S. and the U.K. essentially greenlighting Ukraine to fire cruise missiles that could be nuclear tipped into Russia and specifically at Moscow, is he basically made what do you call it? A press release. He's doing an interview that said, "If you guys do this, we are at war, and if you are at war with us, we'll take steps accordingly." And so what we're basically at the delineation point somewhere soon is the actual war with Russia that we're already in, but it's been unofficial and kind of a proxy war and a bunch of political bullshit and whatever nonsense. But at some point soon, it's going to be a shot by NATO directly to Russia, and it's actual full-on war with Russia in World War III, right? No more beating around the bush, no more like, oh, it's kind of happening in the background, which it is, right? It's going to be full-on, full war, right? And you got to question, and the reason I bring it up like this, you have to question who and why thinks this is a good idea. Because what it basically boils down to is the resources in the Donbass. So the West doesn't want Russia to have that. Russia obviously wants to have them because they need it for their economy, right? And so it's the disconnect of the East versus West. So this is a proxy war for kind of the future of humanity, where the Western oligarchs or the Eastern authoritarians are going to seize power one way or the other, right? I don't particularly like either of these sides, but you have to remember that we're all living in this society together. It's not like we're in a vacuum here. So this is going to affect us. It's already affecting us.
It boils down to the conflicting interests of two extremely polar opposite military industrial complexes.
Very, yeah, exactly.
And
That's a good way to say
and
that.
and and the bankers that fund them both. And this is where this is the wash, rinse, repeat. There's it, the Ukraine conflict is it's there's so many different lenses to look at it, but at the end of the day, it's turning into a conflict of desperation, exactly as the collapse of the last Reich regime. And they're losing 10 villages a day, and desperation, that was the mustache guy's trademark towards the end, and unleashing so many of the technological advancements. But the world really isn't having it. They don't want to do this anymore over there. There's other conflicts that are brewing up, and Germany's economy is collapsing. There's so many other factors in there, between Italy and Hungary and the other nations that don't want to play these reindeer games. It is coming down to absolutely nations are choosing their sides, and it's not going in the globalists' favor right now, or who we identify as a globalist favor. So this escalation to war and conflict is what they do every time they start to lose control of the unwieldy people. So none of this is really a surprise and a shock. And the precious metals markets skyrocketing, that's to be expected. That's what the smart people are doing. They're taking their money, turning in their paper money, their monopoly money, and turning into something that'll still be worth something after the collapse and the rebuild. And I saw a comment in here a little bit ago that even the CBC is starting to admit that it's collapsing. Right, and none of this should be shocking news to everybody. And the fact that these meat muppets in the what I think I coined a new term in last night's show, calling them swamp zombies in Ottawa, are and I love this phrase from Celtic Canutt. They're fighting over the steering wheel of the bus while we're locked in the trunk going over the cliff. Just doesn't get any better than that. So that's, again, there's a bazillion different directions and reasons to understand the price, the value of the precious metals. Seeing it every day. What I'm extremely concerned with at this point, though, is the reasons, some other less conspicuous reasons that are going to be driving this. And to me, that is the literal coup of Canada. And I've been harping about that all week, looking at it, even by definition. This Liberal appointment in Canada is absolutely textbook coup. While everybody was watching the, Kamala,
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 Camula.
Kamala, Mao, 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 Mao. Keep Alf away from Springfield. Mao, meow, meow. But yeah, no. To get serious on this, this unelected foreign representative of multinational other entities, again, multinational corporations involving other countries, foreign bodies, the head of the World Economic Forum climate implementation program, the leader of the ESG DEI agenda. This guy is now suddenly appointed to steer the governing party of Canada without any due process, oversight, accountability. Tell me, please, somebody out there explain to me how Canada was not just captured by the World Economic Forum. Oh, and he's also on the board of directors for Bloomberg. Tell me how Canada didn't just get officially captured by foreign entities and rail on about 11 compromised CCP agents. That, everybody look there.
Yeah, well, I mean, in my mind, we've kind of been captured for a while because Trudeau's been in power, and we have Chrystia Freeland, like somebody on the board of trustees for the WEF that has been directing us, and she actually let slip this week that Carney's been advising her for years. So we've already had this idiot's policies here for years, right? Like the level of delusion that these people hold in their head, and I argue with them, and I'll actually show you. I argue with these people every day because I'm so sick and tired of listening to morons tell me lies as they call me a racist and a transphobe and all these other dumb shit that have nothing to do with the arguments at hand and can't defend their positions at all anyway. Like I've way past had enough with these idiots, right? And I'm already the type of person that I'm like, if you say some stupid shit to me, I'm not just be like, yeah, sounds good, bro, and then be silent about it. Hey, not my style of game, bro. And so I argue with these people every day because I'm like, how can you, as an adult that supposedly does math, think that the carbon tax is good for anything? Literally the only way that you can think that this is good for Canada is if you don't do math and you don't care about the implications of what's happening with the money, because you can't be like, hey, I'm going to give you a bunch of money and you're supposed to go do something with it, and then you don't do any of those things that you're supposed to do with it and then just put it in your pocket. That's insane. But that's what the carbon tax is. Like we don't know where it goes. We don't know how much is collected. We don't know what it's been deployed on. We don't know if it's been given to insiders like everything else has. And there's no way to even measure what they're doing is effective or not because we have no data on anything. It's the most insane government thing I've ever seen. And everybody's just like, yeah, carbon tax, bro. and like this week, actually, David Eby, he got blasted for switching, for flip-flopping on it. He's like, well, if the federal government gets rid of it, we will too. I'm like, we in BC have had this for the longest time since, what the hell is that guy's name? The guy before Christy Clark, what was that guy's name? I can't remember his name, but whatever his name was, the premier of BC. That's when we got the carbon tax. We're talking like 15 years ago. And all of this time, we have all of this data to show, hey, we've been paying this carbon tax for this amount of time. Okay, what are our results? Literally zero. They haven't said anything. They haven't done anything. And we've had cities and towns in BC burned down when, like, so if we were going to be legit about it, like, hey, we're going to take some money to protect our cities. Okay. I mean, I can get behind that. If maybe we have a fire break around all of our cities so they don't burn down. Okay. Yeah, thank you, Campbell. Yeah, Gordon Campbell. That's right. Thank you. And so if we were doing something valuable with this money, look, I'm not an evil person. Okay, I'll give you some of my money so everybody can be detected or be protected. That's reasonable. But nothing, literally nothing has happened.
With these governing crime syndicates, it's like every time they stick the fork in the electric socket and fry their hair, they come up with a fancy new word for a tax to cover up, or a fancy new word salad to wrap up communism in a new tax. And you should do it to save grandma, or in some cases, or your kids in other cases, or whatever the case might be. And you speak from a lens of British Columbia, and I completely understand it. We were the first ones to in the West to understand that Canada was a communist country when it came down to the equalization penalty that the first Trudeau orchestrated on Canada, which was straight up communism, and they've been.
And I never put that together back in the day. I just, but now it's clear as day because I see it everywhere now.
Right, and that was our point as well. So this is where the deep seated anger rises in the West is from, we talk to people all the time that have survived other communist nations. We'll call them that. They've escaped the East without wrapping it up exactly as you said, and understanding that just thanks to word salad programming, they've gotten away with it here for a very, very long time. But now this has crept into where people are starting to understand that same level of controlling and taxation or disposal of that extreme Maoist totalitarian level of governance is on the horizon right here, right now in Canada, with the tokenization of every blade of grass, every cow's tooth, every horse's fart, every chicken's wing, every every blade of your radish and turnip. The government is in every everything that you eat, everything that you consume, everything that you think, under this bill C-293. I'll tell you what, Bryce, this thing is the most absolute aberration. I don't know, what a better word for it on Friday the 13th could be. This is the most heinous, insulting, overreaching assembly of words in the English vocabulary ever put together on a piece of paper and regurgitated as something that we should pass as law in our country. I'll tell you what, this bill is the end of everything we know it as. Know and think of in Canada. That's why we have the Carney coup, the WEF pulling this Carney coup. They need to control every blade of grass that we grow. This is the 15-minute cities, the overreaching and criminalization justification for everything that we will disagree with, and they know we will disagree with it, and combine that with Bill C-63 and the Senate being immovably stacked for life until these people drop dead. The Liberal appointees, which are 80% prefer under Trudeau's control of that. I mean, they're sold out. They are those people. All they supersede any level of governance. How can Canada's society get through all of this? I mean, this is such a dark picture to me right now. I really don't know how to digest it other than, lock down, batten the hatches, make sure you got grub in the fridge, because things are going to get a whole lot stupider real quick. Oh, I think we lost Bryce. Just when I finally take a breath. um, it's absolute insanity. So at this point, without intervening on Bill C-293 right now, Bill C-293. Actually, I've got something pulled up for that. It's a great time for Bryce to reboot. Guys, this is something that there's a collective of people that are working together upon. They've assembled this overnight. The most influential people in this side of the political, I mean, the people that are really fighting the battle of resistance against all of this that we've been describing, are working together to make this one website, this one link, go absolutely burn it down viral. I'm going to pull it up and drop it into the chats as well, so everybody can get a copy and a paste on this, because this link makes it literally a 30-second process to find your senator that represents whatever region you're in. It'll pull it up. It'll fill in the blanks for you. It'll give you a template email that you can adjust it. You can use it in a different way if you want. But you can literally send a message off, an email off to your representative senator, and you're going to be seeing and hearing a lot of people talking about a lot of this. There's an event happening on the 17th to address a lot of this. So get plugged in to this. This is something that Canada needs and can make an impact on. I can tell you, I got an update this morning on this, and in one afternoon there was 43,000 emails sent to the senators through this one-click politics link. Not saying that's going to change the world. We can do this multiple times and reword it, use it, get plugged into it. They need to know in no uncertain terms that this is a serious problem. And here's why I am pushing this. Welcome back, and just in time for me to finish up talking about this magic tool, this one-click politics tool that literally lets you send to find out who your representative senator is and send them where's the 2 and the 4 and the bears shit and the buckwheat on what you think about Bill C-293, which is this evil, attempted perpetration against us by this traitorous government. At this point is the only way to describe it. Every last one of them. That's a whole other conversation, but this is something that Canadians can get ahead of. We got 43,000 signatures or emails sent to senators in one afternoon by putting a push through on this. And we need to keep pushing and collectively keep pushing. And I can promise you that right now is the time to keep pushing, because they're actually listening, guys. From all of the inside water cooler talk that I get to hear from the winds of these politicians, polititutes. There's got to be a way to combine Polistitutes, yeah. They're actually, their noses are in the wind because they're seeking the endorsement. What's popular? What's going to go viral? What do they need to attach their wagons to? And we're going to start hearing a whole lot more pushback against the encroachment of the WEF and the international banking, i.e., Mark Carney, and we're going to see our quote unquote candidates addressing things that we would have never heard out of their mouths 6 months ago. And I want to congratulate everybody for all of that, because that is them getting sucked along and realizing if they want to get ahead and continue to have that seat at the political trough, they have to start addressing some of the things we're talking about. So this massive campaign's going on across Canada right now with everybody that does this talking headspace thing, talking about with this bill and what's going on, and bringing it not just to Canadians' attention, but to the world. And it is really wreaking havoc, I think, and panic in the young global brats. Young global leaders that are sinking the ship that Mr. Klaus Schwab had to send the fixer in, i.e. Mark Carney, to make sure that the trajectory keeps going. So that's me ranting while you were away and back and closing off for you.
Yeah. Sorry, my computer restarted unannounced and unneeded. I post on this stuff every day, and I actually posted when Carney made his announcement. So I'll just share briefly here so you can see, because I think to your point is that when things are going badly and when you're pre-election, that's the only time politicians listen, and that's the only time they're going to change anything, right? And yesterday, sorry?
We played this clip last night, yep.
Yeah. And so this was my response to it, right? The carbon tax and all their moronic deindustrialization, because that's what all of these economic policies. So put aside for a second what they ideologically mean. What are they effectively doing, right? That's the real question. What is this policy? How does that show up in reality for us, the citizens, right? And what carbon tax and all these other moronic far left climate policies are, they're not to protect the environment. They don't do that. What they are for is to deindustrialize the West. That's why Germany's economy is collapsing. That's why Sri Lanka collapsed. That's why they were trying to collapse the Netherlands, which is the breadbasket of Europe. That's why they're doing the same to us, and that's why they're trying to do the same to the States. They don't want the West, the collective West, to have the industrial capacity to fight for themselves, and more importantly, be self-sufficient. That is the whole reason that this is happening. Because if I can create the stuff that I need, I don't need your bullshit from the other side of the planet. And that's why, and if you'll remember back, everybody that's older here, which most of us probably are, is that you can remember back to, globalization is going to be so amazing, and we're just going to get all of the amazing things from all the way around the world. It's a straight up lie. Now that the U.S. is not working in this direction anymore, because they're going back to protectionist policies, as we are, as we should, because why would I want this absolute trash from China that they're forcing on us through with the likes of EVs, right? We can produce all of the vehicles that we need here. We don't need your garbage, dangerous EVs from China that is not in our benefit. We don't need that. We don't need it, right? And so free trade was this idea that you can rip open all of the barriers all across the world so everybody can trade everywhere, right? But what that allowed to happen is that, if I don't need my factory here and I don't need to pay you at $20 an hour, I can go to the other side of the planet and pay them $2 an hour or whatever, right? And so you had these massive amounts of international companies go to the East and set up shop there. And that was the deindustrialization of the West. That's what happened in globalization. And so now that people are getting wise to the game, be like, this didn't do what you guys said it was going to do. Why am I so poor? Why is everything so broken? Why are these idiots coming from the other side of the planet? Well, I don't have the jobs here to support my own people. Like, everything about everything that's happening, if you just do the math, it's stupid, right? And that's kind of what I post this a lot sometimes, which is I can't really bring it up properly. Whatever, you can zoom in and read it. Is this easier to see? I can't really. Okay, there we go. Yeah, there we go. So more or less, but this one. So what this shows on the right here. Maybe there's a better way that I can post this.
Click on the picture and it'll go full screen.
Yeah, but I can't zoom in.
You're gonna get.
This thing's so dumb. Like, I'm trying to zoom in, frickin' Twitter. But anyways, so what this is essentially showing is that 40% of the amount of money that this person paid for their energy for a month was frickin' carbon tax. That's unbelievably stupid that anybody can make even make the argument that this is good for our society. This is stupid, and it's mathematically illiterate if you believe that this is good.
This I've been calling the Liberal Party the manufactured destabilization team since they came into power. That's they're here to absolutely demolish the country through idiocracy. I wanted to, before we get too far down in the comments, I wanted to actually answer this question for Karen Moore. How could senators think any Canadian think we would be happy with this bill? You know what, Karen? And they didn't think Canadians would ever really hear or care about this bill, and that through that apathy and that desperation and that feeling that there's nothing I can do, that is how these bills get through, and these clowns are cowards and they'll put it through if they think they can get away with it. And if we rise as and engage the court of public opinion and step up and do our judicial duty and rise in strength and numbers peacefully, that's the only way that they're going to take notice. If we expect the police to do something about it, not going to happen. Civil disobedience, violence is not going to change a thing except justify even worse things that they might want to do with that. But at the end of the day, the thing that they fear most is from the bottom up having their asses replaced.
Mm-hmm. And
localism.
Yeah, is the answer to globalism. Absolutely. You're supposed to have a representative in your community that represents you. If they don't represent you, remove them, right? And I say this a lot. And I went to I was going to...
It's happening. I get so much good stuff to tell you guys. It's coming. Amnesty. Next week is going to be a big week of announcements. Been working hard.
Yeah. and it's because of stuff like you and me talking about it that we like so many people, and I hear this all the time. So what I was going to say is I went to a Conservative Party event yesterday, and I've said before, I don't care what your political affiliations are, you basically have to be in two camps like right now if you're not a lunatic far left, suicidal moron, right? So if you believe that our society is good and we want to protect it, you can't support the Liberals and you can't support the NDP because these are the idiots that are destroying it, right? So if you accept that, right, that these people are destroying it, there's really only two choices that you have. You throw your vote away with PPC and give them the notice that, like, hey, I don't support any of you guys, that I want change, true change to some degree, or you support the Conservatives, and even if you disagree with some of their policies and the people, I do. So, and let me be clear about that, I absolutely do. But we're still in a system, and I think the worst decision that you can make is saying that no matter what I do, nothing will make an effect and I'm not going to participate. Because what that does is cedes all of the territory, which is our government, to the people that are trying to destroy it, right? And I've argued with lots of people for a long time. And my mom actually a long time ago made a good point. If you don't vote, you can't complain about it, right? And there's an argument to be made that, like, if I vote, I support something, and I'm giving them the power that they need to enslave us. I get that. But you have to take it a step further at that point and be like, hey, I'm going to get into the game and be like, this is bullshit and this is why. Because that's what I did, right? I've complained about this my whole life, and I'm like, that's it. I've had enough. I'm not going to let these idiots dictate moronic nonsense to me without being pushed back on.
Well, just before you don't leave, Leanne, because it's the exact same problem in the UK as what we have here in Canada. 100%. Exactly the same problem, the same swamp zombies. Your guys' Pier Starmer is the equivalent of our Mark Carney being brought in at the behest of HMS Titanic, WEF, Fourth Reich, to right the ship and keep them on track for the Great Reset. So very, very, very much the same problem. But I do have to address the way you address one statement there, and in all due respect, as a journalist, I agree. So here's my quandary. You can't take half of the stick of stolen bubblegum and let the the guy that stole it being the only culprit, right? So to me, I don't consider a vote for Max a wasted or thrown away vote any more than I see a vote for the Conservatives or the Liberals thrown away as a wasted vote. When the criminals control the entire system in the game and it's rigged, there is at this point no point. There is no relevance. So it's redundant and divisive to even describe it as. And this is why I keep going back to the Senate. It doesn't matter. Here's my point. If Max got into power with 245 seats, he would not be able to change anything in Canada under the system that we have, with the Senate that we have, for as long as those swamp creatures might live. Whether it's Pierre, whether it's Max, it's absolutely irrelevant at this point what people want to describe as far as for voting, unless they are agreeing to removal of this completely undemocratic governance at multiple levels, both the Senate and with Mark Carney. This is where, if people are willing to have a talk about foreign infiltration and treason, it's not just the 11. They're wrapping it up and selling it to us in every other sphere. So at this point, talking about voting or electorate, to me is an entirely wasted discussion at this point. We need to be forcing these people, if they want our vote, doesn't matter which side, they need to start saying the right thing is, do you want a sovereign, a de jure, a lawful Canada, or do you want to keep playing criminal games and complaining about how much suffering is enough? And this is where they're eating themselves to the point where the parties themselves are collapsing. It doesn't matter which tribe of politics you subscribe to, even if you're conservative and freedom, it still comes up between Pierre. Now, at least he's calling out the WEF and Mark Carney as being a globalist. He's not calling him the leader of a coup, which he should be as official opposition. That's what, if he wants to speak for me, that's what he should be calling this, is unelected foreign entity. How is this guy getting power in Canada? And he's got, so he's addressing that at least. So it's a step in the right direction for political voice, but it needs to go a step further in understanding that not only what does Mark Carney represent? Not just a carbon tax. What else comes wrapped up with that? And that's Bill C-293 and the Paris Agreement. And this is where the divide comes in when you start looking at who signed on the bottom line. It's kind of the Kamala thing. I'll fix it day one. Well, wait a minute. You've signed on to shit for the last 10 years. Are you going to fix that shit that you signed on to too? Yep. This is what we need to talk about. So if they want our vote wasted in any direction, well, that's if we're going to hold our feet to the fire with real meaningful questions. That's what so at this point, voting to me is it's popcorn.
I mean, yeah, this is definitely an area that we disagree on a little bit, but I come from like a strategic voting perspective, and kind of the underlying thought behind that is the only other choice is revolution, bro. So if voting doesn't work, there's really only one. Well, there's two options after that: it is submission to whatever's happening, or we fighting about it, bro, because you're treasoning me, right? And so I would much prefer to fix these problems in our society through nonviolence and us upgrading 100%. Our system so these idiots can't screw us over anymore. But to your point, is that going to happen for that perspective? I don't know. But I think if we don't take the action to try, that's literally our failure, right? The reason that we are in this position is because we as a society and all of the individuals that live within it failed in our civic duty to hold our leaders accountable and make sure they can't steal it from us and destroy our civilization. So that's on us, nobody else. And so I'm trying to make up for lost time.
It's that snap realization that our realities have been shattered because we're just figuring out the chicanery and tomfoolery and the word salads and the gobbledygooks that have gotten us in this mess. And yes, you're 100% correct. It is our duty, our time, our responsibility at this point, but this has been a long time generational, so we're not the only ones. We didn't just drop the ball. The ball was scrambling around on the floor for a very long time, muddy and mucky, before anybody realized that what the ball really was. So it's about fixing it where we're at and understanding that now that there's a bunch of us looking at it, there's got to be a better way, and there is absolutely better ways. There's different ways to do this, and I promise you this, more than anything, this is why I want to have these discussions before we end up in a situation of violence. We have to be able to have discourse of subjects and conversations that we don't necessarily agree with, so that we can avoid those things, because the last thing that people have is violence, and that's the last thing in the world that I want to see. And when I see from a 30,000 foot view, what is the Bloc Québécois leader's name? I can never remember his name.
Yves, Jacques.
And I don't want to get smoked with slander. I want to make sure that I get the name right when I speak about this guy. But he uttered the threats, the threat that I've been trying to warn people about, and just from an educational perspective, because if I'm going to do my job as a journalist, I can't be sold out to one side or the other. I have to be sold out to the truth, right? And that's serving the people the truth the best I can. So the more crime and that I uncover and expose about this, it's about educating the people, not telling them or swaying them what to do. Hey,
Blanchard.
Blanchette, yeah. He said that, he's been kind of a periphery player, watching the other dogs eat themselves before he jumps into the fight here now. And
and what a place to hop in. He's like, hey, you guys are destroyed yourselves. Hey, hold my beer.
Well,
What an idiot, man.
well, yes and no, but it comes down to you've got some of these other provinces saying you can't do this. Why do they even have representation in the House? All of these things, this new migrant dispersion, this human dumping program that Trudeau's just announced, all of these people to all of these provinces, those people are coming out of Quebec and Ontario to get dumped into the rest of Canada. Why? Is this something that Blanchette has been, yanking the chain on Trudeau? Get some of them out of here. So now all of a sudden, but here's the point that I'm trying to make. Why does this keep happening? Why has this been happening since the 80s and the 90s, where when every time the Quebec government brings up the word separation, they get whatever they want when it benefits Quebec? And that was the threat, the underlying threat of Blanchette's press statement when he announced that he would prop up the Liberals if it supported the Bloc Québécois interests. They have no political allegiance, but if it supports our interests, then we will go with it. If not, we will seek our own path. And that little innuendo is the same innuendo that Trudeau used when he talks about why Quebec gets this, that, or the other thing. He dismisses it as the Quebec problem, quote unquote. What they have in the bank is they have a government representing the people that understands how to extort the criminals. They are the better, meaner, badder criminals on the syndicate block in Ottawa right now, and they have got the liberal crime syndicate by the short hairs saying we will unplug this whole thing and shoot for our own sovereignty and chart our own path, and you guys can deal with the mess that's left behind if Trudeau doesn't give them what they want. This is the reality, the very lowest common denominator based description of what is happening in that swamp zombie land called Ottawa right now. And so we're seeing this wash, rinse, repeat again. And so this is disturbing, and I think it's going to backfire on all of them if we're all, at the end of the day, why we have to understand, how to make it backfire peacefully is to start asking them some of the better questions, and they have to address this. And that's what it boils down to. They just know how to extort Ottawa and whoever's in power, and they've been doing it for since, Chrétien, Mr. Saggy Lip, and all
Way
the way
before
back.
that, bro, they've been doing it for the longest. We're a part of
Right?
the Canada is one of the premier parts of the
And
oligarchy in the world. So we've been in the game a
and
long time.
it's nobody. This is the part about this, why I think it's important to talk about this, is because Canadians are going to get blindsided if that should happen.
Yeah.
And too many of them don't know. Too many
Right.
of them
Or
don't know.
support it because they're so dumb can't do math, bro. That's the worst part. There's all of these people that are like, yo, I want these policies that are going to destroy my life and family in the future, and I'm happy about it. They're just overjoyed with how amazing Trudeau did and is doing. Like, hey, look, all of the amazing things that he did. Oh, like what? Oh, we got dental care now. As everything has doubled and the economy is dying, and they've imported 3 to 5 million people in the last 4 years. These people are insane. Like, and the reason that I use such stark terms now is because they are doing the same thing by anybody that says is against the narrative, conspiracy theory, racist, bigot, blah blah blah, all these dumb stupid things. Like, there's a great saying that I love that's like the people lying shouldn't be talking when their lies can be exposed with the truth, right? And everything that these idiots say is not true. It's, you're not doing a good job. You're not working for us. You're not accomplishing what you say you're going to accomplish, and you're actively trying to destroy our civilization and society. There is no planet, well, this one right now, but there is no planet in reality that the people that are wise to that game are going to know or sorry, accept what that is. Like, that's just it's not gonna happen. But the where they have won for this long is because they have been able to hide their bullshit for so long, and more importantly, they've been able to censor the people that are actually speaking up and out, right? And that time is coming to a close. assuming that we can stay on the internet and C63 doesn't go through. Because if it does go through, we'll be very much like England, and we're kind of screwed in my book at that point. But up until that point, we've still got the ability to speak up, speak out, and tell them to get bent. So that's what I'm doing.
And that's exactly how I define living free. And so there's different ways of looking at it. People can, try to affect change by working with their captors, or be the perpetual pain in the ass, the Steve McQueen, the Great Escape, how, here, hold my beer, ways of trying to deal with the foreign capture of our country. And that's kind of me. I'm the here, hold my beer, I will take you on, beat me down, go ahead, I'll get back up again. Because I understand exactly that it's a war. And yes, Doug, it is kind of our fault for doing, for being in this situation by accepting it and not questioning it enough. But part of that, a great part of that, was the institutionalization of everything. And there's been a lot of things that have been the same. And you guys are in a real poor mess over there in the UK, and I work with some people on a regular basis. But I got a meme here that I wanted to bring up, make a point out of, because at this point here right now, when you look at who's actually working, with a 42% increase in bureaucracy, that's a lot of jobs, a lot of placements, a lot of government, a lot of agency, a lot of people. I think there's something, 300,000 employees in the public-private sector. And those are the people that are driving the yay, hooray bus, because they are surviving off of working with the Borg. Literally, the Borg. It is literally the Borg. They are plugged into it. And what we're fighting for, and this is a post by Zuby. I brought this up yesterday, and it's so relevant. It keeps coming up in conversation today. What are we up against? The people that we're up against, they want you to be godless, sexless, genderless, childless, depressed, anxious, afraid, fat, drug addicted, lonely, physically weak, mentally weak, in debt, isolated, living in a pod, eating bugs, and dependent on the state for everything. And the people that we oppose are already there. Those are the group of people.
Yeah. And this meme kind of goes along with that. Is like, this is how they're getting people to vote in favor of communism, because it's been rebranded and repackaged, right? Anybody that says DEI, anybody that says equity, anybody that says equality of outcome, that is communism. That is what communism is, and that is what communism means, is that no matter where you start, you end up in the same place. And where they want us to all end up is a slave. Which is what everybody turns into in a communist dictatorship, just like China. Every company in China, every citizen of China, regardless of where they are on the planet, is a citizen of the Chinese Communist Party. That's how they view it, and that is in practice how it works. So every company in China has a cadre, a specific group of people that is created within the company to be a rat, essentially, on whatever's happening in the company, and send that information to the Communist Party. That's what every DEI position in corporate America is. They model, it's the exact same model, it's the exact same purpose, and it's the exact same result. You said something wrong, get the hell out, and you're never going to work here or anywhere else in my connection of companies ever again. That is the reason that this is happening, and this is the ultimate goal, which is the removal of your personal property, the ability for you to work and transact on your own and be totally reliant on the government for absolutely everything, right? I can't stand it.
That's Bill C-293 in a nutshell. And when it comes to Captain DEI ESG communism, Mark Carney is the go-to guy on selling that as a good business decision. Sylvie, it's not an easy solution. It's going to take people to embrace and understand how nations take control of their own future and destiny. Talking about what America did. We talk about here sometimes. I haven't really done an in-depth on what we talk about Iceland a lot, what they did when they jailed the bankers and seated a new constitution. And Barbados is going through the process right now. I don't have an update on how that's going, but their process is removing the monarchy. Every nation has the right at some point to determine their own future destiny. That's Article 2 in the UN Charter of Rights, I think. So that's just the court of public opinion deciding that they want to live by a different set of rules, and those small, ego-driven, narcissistic, psychopathic maniacs that are the current swamp zombies. I love that term. I think I'm going to make a T-shirt out of that.
It's a good one. It is a good one. And kind of on that point, so there's a couple of people here that have said, like you can't vote in criminals, right? Good point. I agree with you. And Danielle Smith, which is why I have her up here, last week or the week before, said something unbelievably stupid, which is that she wants to double the amount of population in Alberta in a time where everybody's pissed about immigration. Like, what? But to her credit, today or yesterday, I think it was today. No, it was today. She came out against all of the asylum that Mark Miller, the moron that he is, wants to push on all of the other provinces. She's like, ain't happening. We're done. So finally, I mean, somebody has the gumption and the ability to be like, hey, we're no more. Like there's a line somewhere. Like somebody has put a line in the sand somewhere, which thank God, right? But I mean, 1 out of 12. Like, where are all the other premiers? Where are all the other people that are supposed to represent us that are silent on this? Like, Trudeau today finally mentioned something about World War III. And what did he say? We're going to war. It's like we're off the charts with the amount of stupidity that our leaders portray on a daily basis. Like, our military is destroyed. Like, the stuff doesn't work. And we're gonna fight Russia. What? Like, these people are insane, man.
They absolutely are, and that whole Daniel Smith and the immigration migration saga, that's the hot water that a failure to communicate can get you into. Because her beef was when she was not being clear enough, and I'm not defending Daniel Smith in what I'm saying next. It's just that I've been trying to get a deeper understanding of that, because that was my buddy Sean's podcast.
Sean
Newman.
Yeah.
It was on his podcast, and he's a good buddy of mine. He's one of the best guys, and it was one of those things that kind of happened unexpectedly, because it was a moment that was spoken in candor without context and broader definition. And Daniel Smith is accepting of the financial benefits of a growing population, but she was trying to define that by some of the more traditional standards of what are they bringing to the table if they're coming to Alberta to live. So she didn't want
basic question. Are you going to be a benefit to us or not?
And yes, so that's the context that she was speaking from initially, and now it's gone completely sideways, and now it seems like she's all over the map and all of that. But this is where the micro and the minutia of the rage baiting and the hate recruiting that is going on out there is off the freaking hook by everybody that's got a voice or a reach, and so many things get blown away in context. And like you said, that's not defending Danielle Smith, but it's, if we're going to criticize her, let's be accurate on what we're criticizing her for in the correct context. And that same goes for all of these meat muppets or swamp zombies all the way up. I'm not saying 100% of them are corrupt and crooks, but they have to be clear, and we also have to be clear if we expect to hold them to account on clarity. That makes sense?
Yeah, it does. And to your point, I think that the amount of vitriol that they are getting because of all these moronic policies and people that are like, there's a great meme that I saw that was like, hey, you're taking my family, you're taking my job, you're taking my money, you're taking my stuff. At a certain point, I don't have anything left to lose, bro. And that means that you're the problem. And if I think that you are the person that's stealing all my shit from me, that means screw you, right? And I think a lot more people are starting to get that point because it can't afford freaking groceries. I don't even know how many so many people are even living when you have a 1 bedroom that's $2,000 a month. That is almost inconceivable when the minimum wage or whatever is $15 an hour. You literally cannot live on that, right? And this is obviously all intentional, but like it's finally starting to affect the people that don't want to think about all of this, right? They're like, I just want to have my good times. I just want to do my thing. I want to have my hobby, my job. Like, I just want to live my life. I don't want to think about politics. I don't want to be sad. I don't want to be mad. I want to do stuff. I just want to be, right? And it's finally starting to affect those people. And when you have people that are like, they're just in this bubble and that bubble gets shattered, it's a very like what's the word, jarring experience to be like, wow, the world that I lived in isn't the world that I live in now, right? And I had that experience at the beginning of COVID where I was like, okay, the truckers are going to do something and like these guys will back off because we've got a democracy. Boom, we don't have a democracy anymore. Like, oh, we don't have a democracy anymore. Okay, well, I guess it's a war then. Like, you know what I mean? Like at a certain point, you have to take the responsibility. Be like, nobody else is going to do this, and even if I think that somebody else is going to do something about it, I have to make sure that I'm a part of the solution because I don't know if they're actually going to achieve it, even if they're going to do something about it, right? And when everybody gets together and says, "Yo, this one problem." We all have to be a part of the solution here and screw this one problem, right? That problem is our political system, right? We have the luxury in the West to have the idea that we have a voice and a vote, right? That is a powerful thought process because a lot of people in the East don't think that at all. They're like, yeah, I'm here and I keep my head down and I shut the hell up and hopefully they don't look at me and I can just live my life in peace, right? That's what they hope. That's how they work, right? That's why they want, well, I won't go there. But anyway, my point is that when you have a whole bunch of people that know I have a voice and I can do something about it, and then you try to take that away from them, eventually they're gonna be like, well, I better use my voice and I better do something about it before I lose the ability. And I've been in that mode for a few years now. I'm like, listen, I gotta say something, I gotta do something before I lose the ability completely. Because all of the people, and I was thinking about this the other day actually, because when I was in high school, right, I went to Burnaby South, right? Great school because it was one of the schools in the Lower Mainland here that it was one of the schools that was in the war, right? So there was a group of people. The high school had people that were in World War II, right? And we had a couple of veterans that would regularly come in every year for Remembrance Day, and they would talk about their experiences. There's one old guy that was a captain or something, whatever he was, right? And the first year that I was there in grade 8, he had like 7 of his buddies that were still alive. The next year, there was 2, like him and 2 other people. In the third year, so this is my grade 10, it was only him. And he gave the most moving speech that I've ever seen because he was like, he basically had the sheet and he threw it away and just went off script. And he's like, you can't do this. Like, it's me and my friends died for this. Like, he just went off basically, and he was not invited back after that. Yeah, and I think he died a couple years later. But what he was telling us as kids, it was like, war is the worst thing imaginable. You lose everything that you care about. You lose all of the progress that we've made, and you have the risk of losing your life and your future completely. So if you're gonna do that, you better care about. You better be fighting for something that matters. And we're getting to the point, right, where everybody's going to start fighting for their family because you just cannot live in this broken society if it's stealing everything from you. Like 66% capital gains and like our carbon tax, all this other dumb shit that they're doing. At a certain point, people are just going to be like, that's it. And my true worry, my one real fear is that we reach that point before people identify and agree on what the actual problem is and who's doing it to us, right? Because most of us here know that it's the oligarchs, the idiots, and the communists that are trying to destroy the West, right? Most people don't understand that. They're just like, hey, why is everything not working anymore, man? Like, I used to be doing pretty good. Why is everything so screwed up now? And they're looking around. They don't know, right?
It's literally mob wars. We just think of what mobs as like Al Capone and the old syndicate. That's what we think mob and mafia or, the AHA, that kind of thing. That's not it at all. Every one of those mobs and syndicates, the oldest surviving ones to the newest, have embraced technology and the ability to capture governments and this is kind of where we're at now. And at the end of the day, it has to be the people that will remove the mob through peaceful means. Ideally, the last thing on earth we need is to do it through violence. War is no answer to anything. We don't need to look like Eastern Ukraine. We don't.
Well,
And that's ultimately what will happen if we don't get in front of these guys. But people that have to understand the power that we genuinely have. And by doing that, it's going to, small victories. This is why I want to keep coming back to this. Whether you believe in the system or not, this is something that we can continually gauge, grow, and have we, the people, have the voice and the say over, where in one afternoon we got 43,000 emails sent to the senators. Everything is in there. It takes you less than 30 seconds to do this. This is a way that we get to find our lowest common denominator. Find one damn thing. Understand what Bill C-293 is, and that means you're going to be eating crickets. And it's going to mean you're going to be eating them sooner than later. And so will your kids and your grandkids and your great-grandkids forever after. This is a major problem. Get informed, get involved, get plugged in, find 3 people. We should be able to turn something like this, and this is the significance of behind this. If we want these people that are in the public space to start singing our tune before we get to the election, this is the number one way where we can do that. This is where we can find our voice of the people and find one thing at a time, one baby step at a time to rally and rail and adjourn for this little bit of responsibility. Take this little bit of responsibility, fill in a few damn blanks, and you'll figure it out. When you figure out how easy it is, you can do it every day, and you can change it up, and you can add to it. You can change the letter within it. And you can adapt to it. But the beautiful part of it is it pulls up the people that you need to be speaking directly to, and there's no cost except 30 seconds of your damn time. Well, this is how we take our damn country back, one little bite at a time. That's the alternative is everybody wants to stamp that big red easy button, the magic silver bullet. That there is no such thing. We don't live in a Marvel comic book universe, and nobody's coming to save us. No government, and no government official is going to come to save us. They might promise us something if we lean enough on them, and this is one way to learn how to do that. As get organized without us and taking it over from the bottom up, replacing it. It's not going to. We're going to keep down the criminal de facto path.
Yeah, and you could bring up my screen for a sec because this will kind of be my final thoughts because we're up against the hour here.
Love that dream.
Yeah, and this is so for everybody watching me right now, this is one of my central philosophies. Okay, is that I try to illuminate as much as possible for people, anybody that's willing to listen, the necessity and absolute requirement of your civic duty in a society, right? All of human civilization, regardless of how, where, when, what language, literally does not matter. This is relevant and the same for everyone, everywhere, all the time, right? If you are in a community, you have a responsibility and a duty to be a part of it and protect it, because what you do affects where that community goes, right? All of the decisions that you make today puts you down a path that you're going to end up somewhere tomorrow. And this idea, and kind of the universal idea in my mind, that you have to work with other people to achieve goals, that's the only way that we as a civilization, as a community, as a species, has ever advanced. You cannot do anything alone. You literally, it doesn't work because you're too small. But the actions that you take absolutely have an effect on the world around you. So the smallest thing, right, can still be a powerful thing if a lot of people do it at the same time, right? And these pictures that I show, and I post these a lot on Twitter as well, when the time presents itself, this is what everybody needs to get into the mode of. I am part of a community somewhere, anywhere, right? Go find the people in your community that are agree. I'm pissed. I want change. Somebody in your community agrees with you. Now, other people in your community are also idiots and don't know what the hell is happening and support Justin Trudeau. That's fine. They're not in the majority. they're just brainwashed, right? And when enough people get together and say, yo, this is where we're going now. This is what we're doing now. This idiot over here is lying to us. Over. That's what will make the change. That's the only thing that will make the change.
I when I was talking there just before pulling this meme up, this was the one that was in my mind, because with 105 senators getting 43,000 emails from us in one afternoon through this, that is 100% guaranteed exactly how they felt.
Yeah.
In one afternoon, we made them feel like they thought they were the big sharks, trust Justin Trudeau's for life appointees. Yeah, well, guess what, Mr. Great White Shark Senator? We are coming to scrap Bill 293. We're not going to talk about accountability or any of that other thing about this yet, but this is a great one, guys. Get ourselves plugged in, get trained. This is only one practice tool run that you can engage in right now. And we talk about it all the time. We can be the most educated people on the planet. If you don't combine some action and a little bit of courage with that, you're only going to be an educated corpse along with the rest of the carbon they're going to reduce. So this is kind of a great way right now here in Canada. Sorry, Leonard, your comments are coming through. Yeah, I can see them. Absolutely. And yes, we're bringing awareness, at least having hard conversations, getting people thinking, and at least giving them a micro baby step to cover through it. That bill covers so much. So I got to give you guys a little bit of, I'm going to leave this up for a second and tell you a quick story about how big I messed up today, and a huge apology for everybody out there. So the bill, you're right, Cadbury is so much a 2-hour show with her going through it and talking about it is on order. And I did actually go through a 2-hour press conference today outlining this from an internationally cooperative organization, and I went to publish it and realized that there was no audio in the recording. So one of the most crucial press conferences I've been a part of in some time, and it seems like I wasn't the only one that had audio issues with the recording. So between the group of us that were there, we're struggling to get an audio recording of this press conference. So I'm not sure what we're going to do about that. We may have to have a do-over, which might be appropriate because there's enough people that needs to know and get on board and understanding with that. So yes, me babbling and rambling like an idiot. Did I miss anything, Bryce?
Well, there's so much out there. We missed the time where we'd be here for a year and we'd still miss stuff.
True story. Final thoughts, I guess, guys. Things are escalating. I heard somebody, we say this all the time. I've had to add to the old adage that says, what an interesting time to be alive. The more intelligent you are, my adding to that is the more painful it becomes through the interesting times. So tally home, friends, patriots, warriors, prisoners, hostages, with whatever battle and fight you are fighting out there. Get plugged in and keep the community fires burning. Love you all. Stay mighty. Stay free. Live free. Live with love and freedom and joy and passion, and fight the good fight with a smile on your face, because there is absolutely nothing that melts them faster than that. All right, guys. We'll see you again on Monday. Got some really massive interviews coming up next week. We'll see you all then. All right. Bye for now.
In times of global instability, soaring inflation and massive debt, gold and silver have proven to be unshakable pillars of wealth. New World Precious Metals, based in Calgary, Canada, is a leading international brokerage. We offer an easy, secure and cost-effective platform for investing in gold and silver, including our international wholesale program and registered retirement savings accounts. Protect your money outside traditional banking with our physical precious metals, privately vaulted outside the banking system at secure, insured exchanges worldwide. Gold and silver have been trusted assets for generations, with current projections indicating high returns. And with unprecedented demand from governments, banks, and investors, there are now shortages. Precious metals thrive during inflation, geopolitical instability, and currency devaluation. Sound familiar? Now is the time to invest in gold and silver, whether in your international investment account or by transferring registered retirement savings accounts. Experience the security of physical precious metals, combining the safety of physical assets with the flexibility of being like your own bank, offering instant liquidity and a financed line of credit. With precious metals on the rise, don't miss this generational opportunity to protect your wealth. At New World Precious Metals, we ensure your wealth meets its potential. Contact us today and our personal brokers will guide you every step of the way.